There was always a rumor that you got wrote "Summertime" for Will Smith. Like that sounded just like you.
Yeah.
Most cringy rap right now.
Which is?
I'm an action star. Sometimes I'm an act bizarre. Will Smith.
Will Smith.
Yes.
Okay. I've seen him in the news recently, but I haven't watched the clip. Okay.
It's cringy.
I think Will Smith is the corniest rapper that ever lived.
The corniest rapper that ever lived.
I think he's the corniest rapper that ever lived.
Will Smith, to his credit, was one of the early hip-hop stars to break into the mainstream. As the Fresh Prince, he played a key role in bringing hip-hop to a wider audience and even became the first rapper to win a Grammy Award alongside DJ Jazzy Jeff.
Oh, man. First, I'd like to thank God.
But despite those achievements, there are claims that Will may have allegedly plagiarized his way to success. And the artist he's accused of copying? None other than Rakim, the God MC himself. So, on top of being considered corny by some, the idea that he may have stolen from one of hip-hop's most respected lyricists only added to the criticism and growing dislike toward Will Smith. Let's get into it. One of Will Smith's biggest hits ever was the track "Summertime," which he dropped with his longtime duo partner DJ Jazzy Jeff back in May of 1991. It was the lead single off their fourth studio album Homebase, and the song was an instant classic. It even went on to win a Grammy for Best Rap Performance by a duo or group at the 1992 Grammy Awards. Summertime became a massive hit, one of those timeless anthems that people still blast every year once the sun starts blazing. But while fans loved the laid-back vibe and groove of the song, critics and hip-hop heads started pointing something out from the moment it dropped: the flow. Specifically, the way Will Smith was rapping on the song sounded a lot like Rakim. And not just vaguely inspired, people genuinely thought Rakim ghost wrote the track. The cadence, the tone, the smooth, monotone delivery, it all screamed God MC. For years, rumors floated around that Rakim might have had a hand in writing Summertime, but Rakim always denied penning the song. That said, he didn't keep quiet about how he felt when he first heard it. In a radio interview years later, Rakim said, "Will owe me for that. He stole that. Word up."
You got wrote "Summertime" for Will Smith. Like that sounded just like you.
Yeah, nah, Will owe me for that. He stole that.
He definitely stole the flow.
Will, for his part, stayed completely silent about the accusations for decades. He never addressed it until recently, when he finally owned up to it, face to face with Rakim himself. The moment happened backstage at CBS's A Grammy Salute to 50 Years of Hip Hop, and it was caught on camera. In a surprisingly candid exchange, Will admitted, "I was absolutely trying to sound like you on Summertime."
I was absolutely trying to sound like you on Summertime.
Will explained that he had lost his voice the night before, recording the track from screaming too much, and couldn't hit his usual upbeat, high-pitched tone. So instead, he leaned into a deeper, more mellow delivery. "I couldn't get my happy-go-lucky high voice," Will told Rakim, laughing.
Tried to lay it and couldn't, because I had been screaming all night and I couldn't get my happy-go-lucky high voice. And Hula said, "Yo, just give me that Rakim."
Thankfully, there was no tension between the two. The vibe was cool, and fans loved seeing the mutual respect between two icons. It was all smiles in the room, and Rakim didn't seem to take it personally. Still, even with that moment of honesty, Will Smith has never fully gotten the respect he might have deserved as a rapper. Sure, he sold tons of records, had chart-topping hits, and opened the door for hip-hop in spaces it had never reached before. But a lot of people in the culture still saw him as cheesy, safe, and way too clean-cut for a genre rooted in grit and authenticity. That sentiment didn't really change over the years. And then came the 2022 Oscars, a night that shattered the wholesome image Will had spent decades building. When he walked up on stage and slapped Chris Rock in front of millions of people around the world, everything changed.
Wow! Will Smith just smacked the out of me.
His legacy took a huge hit, and people were divided like never before. After that, it seemed like Will was searching for a way to redefine himself. So in 2024, he made a move back to music. releasing a new album titled Based on a True Story. It was supposed to be his most personal project, a deeper, more vulnerable dive into who he really was behind the fame, the smile, and the carefully crafted image. But instead of being a triumphant comeback, the album flopped. It didn't resonate with audiences, didn't make much noise commercially or critically, and felt more like a whisper than the bold return he might have hoped for. Things took an even worse turn for Will Smith just 3 months after dropping his album Based on a True Story, when he released the music video for a new single titled Pretty Girls. The video showed Will surrounded by 4 female backup dancers rapping about his love for beautiful women, with bars like, "It's a full house, better play your cards right, I'ma post your pic if you pose, make one phone call, you in vogue, head, shoulders, knees, toes, hold up, wait, pose." And later, "I like BBLs, that stand for Bad B Link Up. Poppin' in the club all night in the section, picture perfect, I swear you perfection." It didn't take long for the internet to react, and not necessarily in a good way. While a few people were excited just to see Will Smith back on the mic, a large chunk of the audience called the song cringeworthy. Social media lit up with comments labeling it corny, and many fans openly said it was time for Will to hang up the mic once and for all. The backlash wasn't just limited to casual listeners either. Even insiders from the hip-hop world had something to say. There was one freestyle performance in particular that really rubbed people the wrong way. In that freestyle, Will dropped a line that had people raising their eyebrows. "And I am too grown to play childish games. But if you talking crazy out your face up on the stage and disrespect me on the stage, expect me on the stage." Now, he didn't name drop anyone, but it was clear as day that he was referencing the infamous 2022 Oscars slap when he walked up and smacked Chris Rock on live TV. That line felt like a backhanded jab, and many felt like it contradicted the public apology he had issued after the Oscars. People accused him of faking remorse at the time, only to now come back and throw subliminals about the same situation.
Dude, you said you sincerely apologized, but then you do that?
Right. You just threw the apology out the window.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Which means you weren't sincere to begin with.
Not at all.
It didn't help his case. Instead of redemption, it made things worse. He got dragged online again, and once more during another freestyle where critics said the delivery, bars, and overall vibe were painfully out of touch.
Action star. Why are you doing that, man? You're how old is he? 56. Why are you doing that?
It's almost like the corny label that's followed Will Smith for most of his music career just won't go away. And to be fair, this isn't new. Will has been dealing with this perception since way back. Remember, he started rapping when he was just 12 years old, and from early on, he made a conscious decision to keep his music clean. No profanity, no hardcore gangster themes. While that helped him break into the mainstream and appeal to a wider audience, it also separated him from the street credibility that many other rappers gained by keeping their music raw and unfiltered. In a 2020 interview on Late Night with Seth Meyers, Will actually shared the story behind why he kept his raps clean. It all started with his grandmother. He said, "I had my rap book, and I was writing my stuff, and I had all my little curse words in my rap book, and my grandmother found my rap book." She didn't scold him directly. Instead, she flipped to the back of the book and wrote, "Dear Willard, truly intelligent people do not have to use words like this to express themselves. Please show the world that you're as smart as we think you are. Love, Gigi." That note stuck with him. He said when he read it, his reaction was the F word. But this clean, squeaky image, the one that made Will Smith a superstar, also made him an outsider in hip-hop circles. And it all came to a head in 1999 at the VMAs when Will won the award for Best Male Video for Miami. During his acceptance speech, he said, "To all my fans out there, I never killed nobody in none of my records. I never used no profanity in none of my records, and still, I managed to get up here. Peace."
I never killed nobody in none of my records. I don't use no profanity in none of my records, and still I managed to get up here.
To a lot of people, that might have sounded uplifting. but to rappers who came from rougher backgrounds, who used music to reflect their pain, trauma, or environment, it came off as judgmental. Will's words weren't just a flex, they felt like a shot at the entire genre, especially gangsta rap. One person who definitely didn't take it lightly was Eminem. Just a year later, in his hit song The Real Slim Shady, M famously clapped back with the line, "Will Smith don't gotta cuss in his raps to sell records. Well, I do, so F him and F you too." And when M was later asked in an interview why he said that, he didn't hold back. He said, "First of all, I used to respect Will Smith, but now he dissed the whole genre of rap. He dissed gangsta rap music, and that is one of the most influential musics out there. I respect him for saying his opinion, but not everybody is as happy as Will Smith. Not everybody sees life as happy and as positive as he sees it. So if he wants to rap about birds and bees and flowers, then let him rap about birds and bees and flowers, but don't diss nobody else." Now, circling back to the whole Will Smith and Rakim situation, that's probably another major reason why a lot of people still don't give Will the respect he feels he deserves in hip-hop. Think about it. Here's a guy who made his name staying far away from the gritty, street-heavy content that dominated the genre. So when he suddenly dropped Summertime and was clearly imitating Rakim's legendary flow, a lot of folks saw it as hypocritical. Like, how are you going to avoid everything that hip-hop traditionally stood for, then turn around and mimic one of the most respected and influential figures in the game? It just didn't sit right with a lot of people. Because Rakim isn't just any rapper. He's a foundational figure, someone who completely shifted the way hip-hop was written and performed. Before Rakim, most rappers were sticking to basic rhyme schemes, catchy hooks, and that old-school bounce. It was simpler. But when Rakim came on the scene, he changed everything. He brought in internal rhymes, complex multisyllabic bars, deeper metaphors, and an intellectual approach to lyricism that hadn't really been seen before. Instead of just rhyming words for the sake of rhythm, Rakim crafted entire verses with layers and meaning, like he was writing poetry disguised as rap.
Rakim was the first person that I heard that started using like inside rhyme schemes.
Right.
And coming back at the end and hitting the, you know what I'm saying? He did something that hadn't even been thought of yet.
Original.
Yeah, it was like, and he single-handedly pushed the genre forward to be more complex lyrically.
Kool Moe Dee, a legend in his own right, even said that before Rakim, the term flow wasn't even a thing. Rappers talked about rhyming or cadence, but Rakim was the one who basically invented what we now call flow. His impact was that deep. With his DJ and partner Eric B., the two created an unstoppable duo and dropped 4 classic studio albums before parting ways in 1992. Their debut album, Paid in Full, is widely considered not just their best work, but one of the greatest hip-hop albums ever. Released during what's now called the golden age of hip-hop, Paid in Full was revolutionary. Critics, fans, and fellow artists alike all agree it set a new standard. Alex Ogg, in his book The Men Behind Def Jam, called it the duo's magnum opus. And Rakim's style on that album, it laid the groundwork for an entire generation of MCs. His intricate rhyme patterns, cool as ice delivery, and thought-provoking lyrics helped solidify the East Coast as a hub for elite-level lyricism. Journalist and author William Jelani Cobb said Rakim's rapping stepped outside the old-school traditions that dominated before him. And even though rap would continue to evolve, Cobb argued that very few, if any, have reached the lyrical heights that Rakim introduced to the genre. The New York Times credited Rakim with leading a quiet musical revolution, pointing out how his soft-spoken yet razor-sharp style redefined what a rapper could sound like. He didn't need to yell or jump around to get your attention, he just spoke, and people listened. AllMusic's Steve Huey called Paid in Full one of hip-hop's most influential albums and said it's absolutely essential listening for anyone who wants to understand the foundation of rap music. MTV took it a step further and ranked it #1 on their list of the greatest hip-hop albums of all time. praising it for raising the bar both lyrically and sonically. They described it as captivating, profound, innovative, and instantly influential. And Rakim himself landed at number 4 on MTV's list of the greatest MCs of all time, which is no small feat considering the competition. Now here's one of the most fascinating parts of Rakim's story, and it really speaks to who he is as an artist and what he stands for. See, Rakim is one of the very few rappers, maybe the only one, who actually walked away from working with Dr. Dre. And that's saying a lot. After all, Dre is a giant in the music game. He's the mastermind behind some of the biggest careers in hip-hop history. Snoop Dogg, Eminem, 50 Cent, The Game, Kendrick Lamar. The man practically built a Hall of Fame roster from scratch. If you get a cosign from Dre, it's like getting the golden ticket in the industry. Most artists would jump at the chance to work with him, but not Rakim. Back in 2000, Rakim actually signed with Aftermath Entertainment, Dre's label. The plan was to work on a comeback album titled, Oh My God. Fans were hyped, and rightfully so. The idea of two legends like Rakim and Dr. Dre joining forces felt like it could shake the entire industry. It had all the ingredients to be historic. Rakim's elite lyricism paired with Dre's iconic production, that could have been magic. But the album never saw the light of day. Over time, the project went through all kinds of changes in direction, sound, and even the people working on it. It kept getting delayed, and slowly, things started to unravel. During that period, Rakim still made a few notable appearances under the Aftermath umbrella. He dropped a verse on Truth Hurt's hit single, Addictive, did a guest spot on the Dre-produced The Watcher Part 2 on Jay-Z's album, and appeared on Eminem's 8 Mile soundtrack with the song Rakim. So it wasn't like he was completely absent, but behind the scenes, things weren't clicking the way everyone had hoped. By 2003, Rakim made the decision to leave Aftermath altogether, and with that, oh my god, the highly anticipated album was shelved indefinitely. The big question, of course, was, why? Why walk away from one of the greatest producers of all time? Well, when Rakim finally opened up about it, the answer was clear: creative differences.
You know, what I do is a little different from what Dre do, man. So, you know, creative differences as far as, you know, Dre, you know, he make his kind of music and I like to make my kind.
Rakim explained that while working on the album, he wanted to go in a more conscious direction. He was focused on crafting music with deeper meaning. That's always been his lane. He's never been about shock value or pushing a tough image just for show. But Dre, on the other hand, was pushing for something else. He wanted Rakim to lean more into gangsta rap narratives, the same style that made Dre a legend and helped shape the West Coast sound. It wasn't malicious, it was just a fundamental mismatch in artistic vision.
He would present a track, 9 times out of 10, he'd be like, I want you to, you know, talk on this one. But my way, I guess, of talking is a little different.
And Rakim, being who he is, didn't compromise. He could have easily gone along with it, taken Dre's beats, and dropped an album that might have charted well commercially. But instead, he chose to stay true to himself, even if that meant walking away from what could have been a major comeback moment. That move right there just cemented how much Rakim values integrity over hype. What's even more admirable is that despite the split, there's no bad blood between Rakim and Dre, just mutual respect. And to this day, Rakim remains one of the most respected figures in hip-hop.